Guys, in this training, I'm going to be going through your nutritional operating system, okay? Set meals, simple tweaks, and better outcomes. So this is a short training, just going through what to change when we increase or decrease calories, okay? Rather than overhauling everything, we're just making small tweaks to what's already working, okay? So the trap that people fall into, especially at the end of a diet, your calories go up by 200 calories per day, and everything changes. New meals, new recipes. Oh, I'm out of a diet now, I can change everything, and you just start deviating from what was already working. It makes absolutely no sense, but everybody does it. It's probably a bit of excitement, I'm at the end of a diet, whatever it may be. It doesn't make sense to deviate from what was working. Now you've added in a little bit of decision fatigue. You don't know exactly what good looks like for those calories, and this is where we can start to drift a wee bit, okay? And this is where people can get a wee bit too excited, reversing out of a diet, even in a surplus as well, where they start changing too many things at once, and then it just becomes a bit of a overwhelm, like shit, what happened here? I was in a really good place before. So the alternative is your home base. The things that were already working, like if you've just came out of a successful dieting phase, or even a successful growth phase where calories have been at maintenance or slightly above, you have a home base. There's some meals that obviously were working for you then that you just had on kind of repeat, or a few things that you rotated through. Go to breakfast options, 2 or 3 there. Go to lunches, 2 or 3 there. Go to dinners, 2 or 3 there. Things that just generally work in your life, okay? Now, the idea is that is the home base, okay? So if anything changes, I just want to make a tweak to one of those meals, okay? That's all. That's the only thing that I want to change. So if we think about when we're changing caloric intake, the only thing we're really going to be changing is carbohydrates. Protein is going to be the same. It's going to be anchored. We don't want that to change too much throughout dieting or growth phases or maintenance phases like that. It's going to stay similar. Fats stay similar as well, unless for whatever reason you enjoyed eating higher fats, whatever. Even then, we would just want to have that kind of anchored there and set in stone. We don't really want that moving too much. And then it's just a case of what are we going to do with the calories? We're going to just bring the calories up and down. What are we going to do with the carbohydrates? We just want to move them up and down to kind of suit. So looking at this kind of meal that I've got behind me here, steak, veg, and rice or couscous or whatever that's supposed to be, it's an AI picture. If I was increasing calories in this meal, I would leave everything the same and I would increase the rice or increase the couscous or whatever that is there. You know what I mean? Like everything else would be standardized, and I would add in another cup of rice, and that would go from 1 cup of rice is 200 calories, 2 cups of rice is 400 calories. That's it. So if you have a 200 calorie increase, that is the change. You know what I mean? So what does it look like in practice? What does this look like in general? Okay, so overnight oats, maybe your overnight oats when you're in a deficit is at 30 grams, maybe at maintenance in 50 grams, and maybe 70 grams in a build phase. Maybe people want this to be more exciting or more glamorous than what it is, but this is the reality, you know what I mean? 2 Weet-Bix or 4 Weet-Bix or 6 Weet-Bix or 5 Weet-Bix or whatever it is, 2 slices of toast with your eggs and toast, or 4 slices of toast. Like that, this is it in practice. And it's so easy to do when you're only changing one thing. And then if you need to add a wee bit more calories, you go, okay, I'm going to add in a wee bit of honey. So I'm not going to have 150 grams of oats because that's a lot to eat. So I might just have 80 grams of oats and 20, 30 grams of honey, or 20, 30 grams of maple syrup or whatever it is. So you add in some simple carbohydrates there to make it easier to get those calories in. But you can see I'm still having my same breakfast. I'm just having a bigger quantity of it. I'm still having my same lunch. I'm just having a bigger quantity of it. So why carbohydrates? It's the easiest things to move up and down. You know, you don't have to change too much else. You can just go, it's very simple. So that increase in calories is relative to a certain amount of pasta, a certain amount of toast, a certain amount of rice, a certain amount of fruit, whatever it may be. It's so easy to change, and it takes all this kind of decision fatigue and all these other variables away. It's performance fuel as well. So for your high intensity activities, for your training, your strength training, having more carbohydrates in the diet makes sense from a performance perspective. So if you're no longer in a dieting phase and you want to see performance improve, you bring the carbohydrates up. Okay, so that's why it's not about just adding calories. It makes sense to add carbohydrates. This is the only thing that we need to worry about. You just change one variable, you change one thing, you don't overhaul the system, you don't add in all this other different shit. Like when you simplify it and see it as, oh, it's an extra banana and an apple a day, it's an extra cup of rice, it's an extra cup of potatoes, it's an extra 2 slices of bread in my day. And this is why people kind of, I think, fail at the end of a diet, because they think, oh, I've done all my hard work now I can just start adding all this food back in. And when you realise that the incremental increases are small at a time, are 150 to 200 calories, like adding in a cup of rice per week doesn't make that much of a difference. You're still in a deficit, you're still in a caloric deficit, but we're reversing out of it slowly, because at the end of a diet, you're at a high likelihood of putting on excess body fat. So we have to do this in a controlled manner. Now, the idea is this is your own customized, flexible meal plan. We have the meals that are already working for your life, and then we're tweaking those meals, be it in a dieting phase, or be it in a maintenance phase, or in a surplus, in a gaining phase, or a building phase. So it's very, very easy to do. You realise that when you're in a dieting phase, maybe some of the carbohydrates come out and more of the veggies come in, and more of the lower calorie carbohydrates come in. When you're in a maintenance phase, maybe some of those low calories carbohydrates come out, and more normal calorie carbohydrates, rice, potatoes, those types of things. And then if you're going into a surplus, then we need some high calorie carbohydrates, which is low in fibre. When we start looking at fruit juices, we start looking at honey, maple syrup, and those types of things there. Okay, so again, we're only changing one thing at a time. This is what I said, coming out of a diet, this is super, super important. People fuck this up all the time. This is why people lose weight and bomb it back on pretty quickly, because they don't do this properly. Like when you're still in a dieting phase, you've still got maybe 4 weeks until you're out of the woods when you brought the calories back up again. And this is just not what people do. They react too quickly to it, and they just go open slather with it, and they realise that, you know, this is the time when you can, or they will realise in time that this is a very crucial stage of a transformation, that reverse out of the diet, and you'll see how quickly you can put on body fat. You know, if you throw in a lot of calories coming out of the diet, like you see this with women and men doing photo shoots and bodybuilding shows, and they can put on, you know, 10, 15 kilograms in like 6-8 weeks. Like, it's pretty crazy stuff here, because we're not doing it in a structured environment. So there's a bit of psychology and stuff like that and support that needs to go on here as well. But the idea is we build our set meals, we identify the variable that we're going to tweak up and down, and then we adjust one thing to one meal at a time. Keep it as simple as possible. Simple works, okay? Simple works for every single person's life. We all would like it to be easier, so just don't fight it. Make it easier on yourself, and it'll make it so much easier for you to be adherent to it, okay?